business, right? So in this scenario, I think before you look for tools, I often want people to say, what is the task and things that you're trying to solve? What is your workflow? If you can identify that first, then go and look at for the tools. Because often people says, well, I want to do this and do I want to buy this tool, and then it doesn't do exactly because their workflow doesn't match with what the tool can do.
Yeah, that's just good in general. You got to ask what specific problem are you trying to solve? Because
That's right.
that way you're going to get the correct response to what you're looking for instead of just saying, well, everyone's on, the Teams version of ChatGPT, so we need to be, or I think there's even a better version than that, like the $200 a month version, which is like almost like a coder version. But what is that really going to get you?
Mhm.
What difference would that be? So yeah, definitely asking the question is the right way to go.
Um, and then we were talking about your data, right? Identify what consider is the different type of data that you have, whether public information where things that you share on your website, things that you don't mind if somebody has access to it. It's not gonna harm you because it's something that you're willing to share publicly. An internal is your process and procedure that you run. Let's say you onboard a new client. What is your internal onboarding process for a new customer? That standard operating procedure. You want to keep that internal, and then maybe confidential is your client intake information, your client case files. You want to treat that as confidential. That's how we're looking at how just some basic example of how to classify some data.
Yeah, I think that's one of the habit that prevents most compliance breaches is just classifying your data. And I would say also going back to making sure that your team and everyone knows how to classify data, and putting that into your procedure.
Yeah. One of the things that we do with some of our client with the data classification in Microsoft 365 is we use something called sensitivity labeling that allows you to tag the data and says, okay, this is for confidential information, this is for internal, this is for public use. If a document is considered is confidential and you email it to somebody and it still flags that, they can't open it, even if they have access to the data.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. The next one, like we mentioned before, is we slightly went over this, the tool that offer the enterprise plan with non
Mhm.
training guarantee. That was what we were talking about earlier. So I won't go into much more detail unless you guys have question on that. Um, so the next one that we talked about is have some clear understanding of do's and don'ts, right? That tells us that if you tell your team member, hey, these are what's acceptable, this is not acceptable, have that conversation just like safety rules. Okay, if I don't know, I'll give you an example. Is I get a lot of phone calls asking to talk to me to offer new service or vendors. And I tell my team that they call me, unless I'm expecting the call, please don't put the phone through me because I don't want to talk to them because I need to know. That's an internal rule that we have, but that's the same policy that you may have to consider with AI.
Absolutely. And I think you have kind of a template that you share on your website. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yep.
So yeah, I can share that out for
I
if you
think
guys
that you
like
get
it.
that at the end. Yep. But
I'll give that
just
out to you guys.
because that would be my question if I was sitting here. I'm like, well, that's great, Matthew, but how do I come up with that? So yeah,
Okay.
so I know you've got a template that's on your website that is a good starting point, right?
Yeah,
For
we
things.
have a AI acceptable use policy. Thank you for reminding me that. The other one is, like we mentioned earlier, treat AI as a super intern, right? You don't want the intern to make the decision for you. You want it to help you do the fast research to give you the draft. A human being should at least verify that because you don't want somebody who doesn't know your business as well as you do to make the decision and write up a proposal without you having any oversight.
All
And then
right.
lastly is you should monitor regularly and ensure that the policy you have in place are being followed and being correct because just because you have the policy in place does not mean everybody is understands that this is how we should do it.
Yeah, in EOS, it's called FBA, followed by all. And, we spend a lot of time coming up with processes and procedures. But if they're just going to sit in, a document and never be opened or used, or updated, because, that's the other thing, like, we talked about in the beginning that, this is kind of like a chat because we don't know everything and things are hitting us so fast. So we need to update too as we go along. I mean, that those levels of chat GPT next month could be completely different from them what we're talking about today. So we want to make sure that our staff knows what our policy is, and then following up to making sure that it's being followed, and if not, communicated to the team about how they need to start following it.
Yeah. An example of the monitor is that some of our implementation, if we would say if somebody sends an email out that contains, let's say, sensitive information such as social security, credit card information, it flags and sends a notification to the users, hey, you're sending out sensitive information. It is
Nice.
you should not be doing that because that's against our policy.
Exactly. All right. Which step is hardest for your workplace? So we've got figuring out what to use for AI, deciding what data is safe, picking the right tool, making the rules, checking AI's work, or watching how AI is used. Those are hard to pick from. I think figuring out what to use AI for, I think that's what the one I get the most. People don't want to be left behind, but they don't know what that means. Yep, making rules. Yep, watching how AI is used, picking the right tool. Yeah, this was a tough one. I agree with all of these.
Yeah. Ryan, I saw your question, but I can talk. I'll address that maybe at the end of it. Is that okay? In the chat.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, go back to the next slide. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you. So this is somewhat as just a summary is verify of everything. So just making sure that before AI output, just check the facts, make sure the citation and is matches what you who's is AI and all these output. It's gathering that information either from the web or from somewhere that somebody uploaded to tell the system to say this is what the information is when somebody asks you this. One of the things that somebody was given an example was saying, okay, I want you to write this article as if I'm a 15-year-old because the output was they must have taken data from a 15-year-old or the way a 15-year-old vocabulary uses, and the output is based on a 15-year-old. Now, imagine that you're putting this for a legal contract. You want that to be You don't want it to sound as a 15-year-old.
No,
That enterprise tools about, protecting your data. That's the question is, I don't know if it's going to be completely safe because the fact that a lot of times we put sensitive information and sensitive information, including your client information and your employee social security. So it's important that you guys have a way to classify the information. Otherwise, everything is important and nothing is important if all of it is considered important.
that's exactly right. When you don't make it a priority, then yeah, it just is hearsay and it doesn't really resonate with people. So you've got to make that decision.
Yep. And lastly, again, it's just helping you guys educate and train your team. Have a policy, what is acceptable, what's not, and then decide, go over your team, guys. This is what the tools we adopted. This is the tools that we don't want you to be using these other tools for work related unless it's considered public information. For example, if you are putting client information and asking questions, decide like, do you want to allow certain tools? An example is somebody mentioned to us and say, hey, I want you to, I want this use this AI tool to access my email and then respond to somebody for me. And I often ask, what is that tool? If they do that, are you allowing them access to all your email? Do you understand where they're storing your data?
Mhm. And that goes back to the oversight.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the gist of it. And I do have, some, I mentioned the links that you guys can use to download some of the information we talked about. Um, Sharon, do you have that, or I can give it to you guys? So
Oh, yeah.
I also will make it available if you guys want to have a chat with me directly and stuff. On the next slide, there's a link where you can book a time just to have a conversation. There's just we're trying to learn from each other and help each other out.
I have another question.
Yes.
Um, do you recommend, I mean, I understand it sounds like you're not an attorney yourself, you're an IT person, but do you recommend that attorneys put something into their client engagement agreement that they are using AI products, even though, I mean, obviously you're using them respond. I've wavered on this because
Mhm.
I'm very careful. I don't upload any client confidential, and you also don't want them to think oh, she's just writing this by chat GPT, like because we all know who I that's not that what's happening, but you're using it for different reasons. But so I don't know, I guess I'm wondering if the recommendation is to include something about that in your attorney-client engagement agreement.
I saw this same exact question that was posted in a forum under a legal AI, and some people gave saying that they do put it in their agreement just to, I guess, disclose that, just letting people know. Um, what what I do know is that as more and more tools are baking AI into the system, people almost assume that in some form or another, AI is it's somehow behind the scene. Like Clio Practice, for example, has an AI feature in there. Microsoft has Copilot, and all these other tools that are out there, they're having some form of AI to help basically try to help save you time. So the short answer is I think it may be a good idea, but I I don't have the the uh, the verbiage and stuff to that to what I know people are putting that into their legal contract to let the client know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
think
I
other,
would say specifically if you're using any legal work, so any of those products like within Clio or LexisNexis or whatever, I think you probably should because you're using it, the data, check, even though it's a closed loop, I think, so to speak, you probably still want to have it in there. And I would imagine most law firms will start having that in there. So I don't think that will be a big red flag or, to people, but I would imagine that's going to be in a lot of people's contracts, even outside the legal world.
Okay, thank you.
Matthew, can you share a little bit about prompt injection and if that is something law firms should worry about even when there is a confidentiality is taken care of with the enterprise agreement, but the sensitivity AI has with other cybersecurity loopholes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you
like a few months back, there was news that a security firm tried to breach ChatGPT through prompt injection, and were able to access PII information in a Google Drive folder, and just regardless of what ChatGPT account you have, even if you have the Teams version, the enterprise version, you're still exposed to that.
I would say that it is not completely 100% foolproof for the same reason why we see businesses get ransomware attack. And part of that is there are a lot of tools out there. Oftentimes, it's because there's a misconfiguration or human error. There's a lot of like security measure and a lot of tools out there, but oftentimes because we either try to do it ourselves or sometimes we check the wrong box, we think that it's safe, but incidentally, we do the opposite. And that's why you need somebody to help provide somewhat a monitoring and oversight to look at, are we doing everything? Most of us are really busy trying to, I would say, provide helping our clients get things done. We don't think twice about, did I set up multi-factor authentication when I log into my tools or my OneDrive or email? If we put in some of these security measures, just paying attention to me is probably the most important thing. I don't know if that answers your question, but I don't believe there is 100% proof. But if you take some initiative to pay attention to some of this, you're much better off than the other people because you won't be as target. I often look at it, if you are making it harder for the hackers to get into your system, they're going to move on to an easier target.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Do we want to answer Ryan's question?
Yeah, so Ryan asked if linking ChatGPT to SharePoint doesn't the data still go to OpenAI server via API compared to using Copilot, which uses the Azure Open API model, which Microsoft private instant of the model? The short answer, correct. Is if you are in the Microsoft ecosystem, I would recommend you use the Microsoft Copilot instead. What I have found is some people feel like there are ChatGPT has some more features that they feel like Microsoft Copilot may not have. I don't know until you do. That's for you to decide. But as far as if you share the information, whether through SharePoint or OneDrive, in some way, in order for the process, it has to upload that information, analyze the data, and probably give you the result back. But if you're using the enterprise version, chances are it has a lot more security feature built in than the free version, or at least even the consumer version. Let me just put it that way.
I
Right.
have a
Thanks, Matthew. Thank you. That was that was clear. I had another question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So when using these enterprise paid um, tools, can you turn on zero data retention? Is that a feature?
Zero data retention.
So basically, the tools like Gemini or ChatGPT, can you turn on a feature to say no data retention at all? They don't save anything, not even for 30 days or anything like that.
Off to the top, I don't know. I know you can go in there and purge or try to like purge it, but I don't have. I, that's a good question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
Yeah.
I had a quick question, Matthew.
Yeah.
And this is it's gonna be a goofy question, but I want to ask it anyway. So one of the things that I've tried to use ChatGPT for specifically is some analysis. For example, there's a bill that was passed, SB 37, which regulates attorney advertising. It's important to my clients and my universe. But it's obviously it's AI and it's only, I guess, interpreting the data that's currently out there. So my question is, if there are security issues, can I ask ChatGPT questions about how it's using the information I'm giving it? And can I trust the answer that's coming? Or do you think within the system is baked in, don't pay no attention to the man behind the curtain? Like, is it baked in? Like, we're not going to get a true answer from that.
That's a good question, Joe.
I
You
saved it
know,
for the end.
yes, it's like asking somebody who is I don't know, I'm gonna give this analogy saying, hey, I want you to audit the books for me, but you're also the one who's prepared it. I don't know.
Lack of independence is what we call that in the
Yes.
CPA realm.
Um,
Yes.
so I don't I the short answer is I don't know the answer to
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, because I know for searches and for conversations with ChatGPT, I don't want, and I've learned that you have to say, do not regurgitate. Don't tell me I'm great. Don't tell me my answers are right. Give me raw feedback, even if it hurts my feelings, however you want to sort of word that. So
Okay.
I don't know if, and again, it's probably we don't know. We can assume some very wise coders said, hey, make sure they know make sure they think we're not spying on them. But just curious of the feedback from all the AI products, what the feedback is from them. But we may not have an answer. It might take time to honestly time and several lawsuits to find out the truth. But just curious your take on that.
Yeah. Mm, as you know, what is all that? Google was in trouble for saying that they weren't tracking people on their Chrome browser, right? And there was a lawsuit against that because they found out that they were actually, even though they said they weren't, they were actually still tracking people information.
So talking about browsers, Matthew, any comments or any thoughts on the AI browsers which have come up? So ChatGPT's Atlas, and Perplexity's Comet, and others. How safe are they?
Uh, I have not personally used them yet. So I don't know to a great degree because more and more of these tools are being baked in and the back engine is more or less holding data. I think most of the clients that we work with have not tested this or have not engaged us in about these. I know there are tools out there, but we have not personally used it to a great extent, so I don't have enough data to tell you about that. I mean, you're welcome to tell me. I mean, if anybody here used it, I'd love to understand it as well. Why you guys use it? Do you feel like it's better than Microsoft Edge or Chrome browser?
Oh, it's definitely better. It does a great job at summarizing whatever is open on your screen. It can help you manage your tabs much better. So,
Okay.
I mean, all of us, I'm sure, are guilty of having 50 tabs open at some
Hmm.
time of our days, and then
Yeah.
our system slowing down. So it can tackle that problem. It can summarize videos. It can do a lot, but we don't use it just because of the prompt injection issues. And then
Mhm.
obviously, even with the enterprise license, I don't want any client data to, like, if the thing which worries me is that if I have my work email open, even though I haven't given access to ChatGPT, would Atlas pull all my email info and then
Hmm.
feed it to ChatGPT anyways?
Hmm.
But that's why um, no AI browser use for work is the policy we have right now.
Hmm.
But I mean, if I was able to allow all my team members to use the AI browsers, it would definitely improve productivity.
Yes, and now you're gonna this is some of the things that I think is early adopter are trying to test this out. And all of it is just a new technology. All of us are trying to figure it out, and I think only time will tell which one is gonna come out.
Mhm.
Everybody is trying to say AI this, AI that. I'm like, okay, well, is it really how much AI is in there, or they just put the word AI means that they're doing something?
Yeah, exactly. I went to a QuickBooks conference a couple weeks ago and everything is AI that they were doing, but basically it was just sending out an email of a report. I don't really feel that that's AI. I feel like that's just an emailing of a report. But, they're trying. But I don't, yeah, I think, like you said, everybody's trying to say that they're doing things, and some things are landing better than others.
Mhm. Okay, so I know we're coming up on the hour. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I think you're gonna mention about some other things about
Yeah,
coming up.
so I put in the chat the couple of links that you can definitely utilize for some assessments and a policy. And we're going to try this out. We're a brand new um, group, and we're law firm growth ideas, and we're going to try to have this webinar once a month on the second Wednesday at the same time. And we're hoping to get other ideas. So I did want to throw out there, if anybody has any ideas of things that they might want to see for a webinar topic coming up, I mean, please reach out to, either Rav or Matthew or myself or Joe. And we will definitely, consider that. And then I think we also have one more poll about what's the most important thing that you learned today. And you can just add, we'll put all the different things. Right now we've got adding data classification policy, don't trust AI to review. Yep. I think that's definitely some good takeaways.
Um,
How about you?
yeah, so I want to just mention something about the link. In the link, there is the acceptable use policy, but I also have a what do you call it? Uh, a self-assessment if you're thinking of using AI that you can take for yourself. There's an online version, but if you prefer a paper and pencil, I can send you that version as well.
Great.
So if you click on that link, it'll take you to what we call an AI readiness assessment, and it'll help you understand some of the stuff we talked about and ask questions. It's about maybe 15 to 20 questions, and you can determine that for yourself. And afterwards, if you have questions, I'm happy to have a discussion with you so that perhaps you may need some more details.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Matthew. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And hopefully, everyone has a good rest of their day. And we will have the recording out. So if you had to look at an email and you're like, oh, I missed this part, or had to step away for a minute, we will be sending that out as well. So thank you again, and everyone have a great day.
Thank you.